So the last thing that I want to point out here is if we make a change here and then save it, and then back on our page click always a rerun, then you're going to see that you start getting duplicate logs. So we can fix that with a combination of two techniques. So the first one would be on actual logger.py. So we want to do something here called cast resource with Streamlit imports. So if we go up here and import Streamlit as st, and then st.cast_resource. So I pulled up the Streamlit documentation here for cast resource. st.cache_resource is pretty much like st.cache_data, whereas if the parameters of the function are the same and the code is the same, then it'll just use its internal load data to be able to actually load it from its stored memory rather than having to recompute the whole thing. st.cache_data is a little more nuanced and used more in situations where it should be stored across all sessions and across all users. So if you scroll down on their documentation page, they have some nice use cases you can look at, which you might be looking for to decide like what to use. So like transforming data frames would be cache data, right? Because that is it's specific to you. You're going to be performing that transformation, and then every time you refresh the page or something, you're going to want to get that pickled data back. Whereas if you're doing stuff like initializing database connections or opening file handlers and whatnot, then you want to use st.cache_resource. And this is going to make it so it's more global. So with concurrency, if multiple people are using it, then it'll cache it. While st.cache_resource is a good practice to have and one of the combinations, I find that it still doesn't fix the issue. So if we go ahead and save that, and we'll bring this over, click always rerun, then it still ends up duplicating the log. So we need something else as well. So the other piece of the fix that we're going to want on here then is also in logger.py. So when it's actually setting up a logger, again, I'm not really sure why st.cache_resource on its own won't work with it. I think because we're using the always rerun button, which is more of a developer feature, so that might invalidate some of the cache or something. I'm not really sure, but so this is the other way that we would do it is if we just, because we're setting up a handler each time, so that's what's duplicating the logs, right? So if we just say if the logger already has handlers attached to it, the logger object, which that should be global across the session, then we'll just return the logger object, and we won't rerun the rest of this. So when we go ahead and save that, and then let's exit that. Okay. So we have the actual data up now. So let's go ahead then and let's go to plot.py or whatever. It doesn't matter what kind of change you make. Just face roll the keyboard and make a change, and then we'll click that always rerun button up there. And then simple as that. It's not duplicating the logs anymore. So again, just to reiterate, like st.cache_resource is best practice to use according to Streamlit. I'm not exactly sure why when we click always rerun, it doesn't work with that. If you do know why, then I'd love to hear about it in the comments why. But this is kind of our backup method of just checking if the object already has handlers. And if it does, then just return it right there. All right, so that works. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.